How are the team? Can you please just start by giving us an update on the fitness and availability of the squad?
I'm good, thank you. Players are in a good place, clearly. Been a good week. Injury pretty much as we were, I suppose. Josh Da Silva's still out. He signed his new contract, which I'm really happy we were able to do. He's a big part of the football club. He's been very helpful to me during this transition and very helpful to me last season around set pieces. Aaron Hickey won't make this weekend, but he'll be back in training over the next few days, and the rest of the boys are pretty much available.
You touched on what a great week it's been, but you're coming off the back of a fantastic performance. I know you said you think it's been the most complete performance of the season so far. Can you just reflect on how pleasing that was for you and the move in captaincy?
Yeah, I think just the evolution of the team, the next step, I suppose. Result obviously is the most important thing, but I think it's the manner of how we won the game, how we approached it. I mentioned after the game, I felt it was a really good few days preparing for it, the feel around the building and the quality of the training and the focus of the players, and I'm feeling that again this week. Naturally, after that game and that result, there's even more confidence in the building. Granted, we're going into a game that will be very, very difficult. We're very aware of that, but our confidence levels and where we are as a squad and as a club, I think, are in a pretty good place.
I mean, how much confidence can you take from that, and is it a case now of using that momentum to head into Saturday night?
Yeah, listen, I'm probably going to contradict myself now by saying that the main thing is the result, obviously, but it's how you get results. Obviously, sometimes you need to grind out results, you need to suffer in games. Probably have to do that tomorrow night against Liverpool because of the level of opposition and talent that we're facing. But I think the performance levels of so many aspects of the game on Monday night against West Ham were very, very pleasing, that inevitably it just allows you to take a step back, look at things as the head coach, and I'm sure the players have done this. We've spoken about it just today, post-game, around what we can achieve, how we go about things, and just building that consistency and belief into how we're going about things. And I think the players, like I said, they're just in a good place.
Will it take a performance as complete as the last one to get a result over a side like Liverpool?
Yeah, it will. We'll have to potentially find ways. I think we have to manage the game. Very different proposition, clearly. The way they play, a magnificent result during the week in the Champions League. So we're well aware of the strengths that they have, and the individuals, the collective, in terms of how they will set out potentially in different ways. And yeah, we'll see what their team sheet brings tomorrow evening. But like I said, we'll be prepared for it, and we're really looking forward to it.
A lot of talk around Liverpool's current form. I know you mentioned the Champions League there, but do you consider that they are as great a threat as ever?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I presume they won't be entirely happy with what's gone on the last few weeks. I think that would be pretty obvious to say with the results that they've had. I think when you scrutinise those games that they lost, I think they've had moments, a lot of good moments in those games that could have swung the other way. You've only got to look at the United game. Cody Gakpo could have scored 4 goals, hit the woodwork twice, header late on. So it's been a few weeks where, like I said, they probably won't be delighted with the results, clearly, but there's aspects in each of those performances that have been very, very impressive, and we'll be aware of those. The players already are, and we'll try and implement our style and our way of playing on them to make things a little bit awkward. Thank you. Hey.
Do you mind just elaborating on something? You said some of the aspects of some of their performances have been brilliant. Do you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, I think they've got outstanding individuals. I think they've got world-class players within the squad. I think it's pretty evident that it's a new team. I think I can relate to that, clearly. I speak a lot about the relationships of our players and how we're looking to build those and grow those, whether it's the attacking players or full-back, centre-back combinations, whatever it is. Our new goalkeeper, as an example, and I think you can see it in their performances where it just potentially hasn't got that rhythm that it probably once had, because naturally they've changed quite a few players within that. But I think the moments that you do see when it clicks, it's absolutely lethal.
what have you made therefore about with them being a new side about some of the noise around the performances or the way and the results that they've picked up?
Yeah, the noise around them is nothing to do with me, I have to be honest. Like, watched them a lot. They're a magnificent football club, magnificent team. They're the Premier League champions. So it's I think it's dangerous to look at the results over the last few weeks and suggest that they are not of a certain level. I think it's really, really dangerous. We won't be feeling that, expecting that. We're very, very respectful of what is coming to town tomorrow night. Very respectful. Top manager, really high-level players that can change a game in a moment, and we will have to be on it for 90+ minutes and utilise the bench really, really well. The physical exploits that we'll have to really get after, and like I said, we want to focus on us, but again, we're very, very respectful of them.
You mentioned midweek as well. It looked like maybe a change of system was certainly set up. You may have been preparing for one way to play against them. How does that kind of throw things up in the air for you at all?
Yeah, making the players aware of it, that slight shift. I think some of it's personnel dependent, so we'll see what that brings tomorrow night. Who starts the game naturally, I think will give you possibly an indication as to what way they will go in possession, how that looks, the individual attributes that they have. But yeah, there was certainly a slight tweak in the way they set up for the first half, certainly with Isak and Ekitike on the pitch at the same time.
You said on Monday after the game that even at 1-0 you were very calm, despite it was obviously quite a tense situation. But is that kind of a snapshot almost of what you are as a manager?
I wasn't as calm against Sunderland 1-0 up, I have to be honest, and that's not in hindsight because we lost the game. Maybe it was the state of the game, the feel of the game the other night, or maybe it's just a slight step forward, us as a group, us building and growing trust amongst us, me with the players and vice versa. I think maybe it was a bit of both. But again, I did say the other night again that Bowen, Somerville, Paquetá, like one moment can undo a really, really good evening. So the second goal would have been nicer if it had come earlier.
And just lastly, one on Thiago. You said that he has a very positive nature and demeanour around. Is that what you'd call a sort of classic Brentford signing off the pitch in terms of those kind of non-negotiables that you have to be able to come here?
Yeah, I think that's about right. His demeanour, day-to-day, positive outlook, just a good person, good values. That sometimes when you sign players, they have to you have to guide them towards the culture of and the habits of the building and what we're about. That didn't have to happen with Thiago. I think it was already embedded in him, and I think there's that, but there's also the hunger, the natural hunger of wanting to get better. Literally, the game today, whatever time it is now, half an hour ago, we're having to drag him off the pitch because he's always the last one on it. So some players, you have to push towards that, and those extras, and again, Thiago's not like that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So we're still under immediate embargo. If you would like to go next.
Yep. Keith, you mentioned the word respect there for Liverpool, but it's a new look Liverpool side in many ways, and having some teething problems. And I suppose last year you could pick the starting team for Liverpool. It was just a case of who was going to start up front, Nunes or Gakpo. I suppose this year they haven't really consistency regarding a starting 11. Is that something Brentford can exploit?
Yeah, like I said, we'll wait and see what the starting lineup is. Maybe it would have been easier to predict that. Does that make life a little bit easier when you're preparing and tactically? Yeah, probably. Can we take advantage of it? I'm not so sure. It's as simple as that. Again, I go back to the level of talent that they have in the squad. Also need to factor in they play every few days, so they will probably chop and change a few players here and there. They've also obviously had to contend with a few injuries over the last few weeks. So we'll see what their starting lineup brings tomorrow night.
Yeah, and one of the main strengths for Brentford this season has been your wingers, Shade and Quattara, especially their running power, their ability to run at full-backs. And it's been a rough start for Milos Kerkez and maybe Conor Bradley on the defensive side. Is that maybe Brentford and G-Tech Stadium stretch the field, make it as wide as possible and try and get your wingers going one-on-one against the full-backs?
Yeah, I think Kev and Dango are really important players for us, and they've showed that. I think on Monday night been a prime example of them with Thiago and what that potentially can look like. We've seen glimpses of it. I want to see it more and more. I think the more they play together, naturally that will build that rapport, that connection between the three of them. So the two of those players that you mentioned are really important players for us.
Yeah. And on a positive note, Rico Henry, only 28, but it almost seems like he's been at Brentford for a lifetime at this moment. What can you say about the guy that's been nearly a decade at the club, 7 caps away from 200 appearances? He was with Brentford right from the journey from the start. Could he finish out his career? We never know with football, but Rico's still only 28. He's still got the best years ahead of him.
Yeah, very much so. He's been a pivotal part of the success of this football club. He's had to deal with a really tough time around injuries, and we've been conscious about building him back towards that. I think Rico would naturally have liked to have played a little bit more, but I've said this on numerous occasions over the last couple of months. Probably the squad is in a really good place. We've got really good options from the bench. But Rico's a big player for the club, knows what it takes for this club to be successful, the values, the habits, the culture, everything around that. And I think he's epitomised the journey of the club.
And my final question for you, I suppose as a coach, it's very much important to keep the morale of your players really, really high. And sometimes players can have various successes in international duty and they can come back in really good spirits. But coming from Ireland, it's hard times at the moment, and Keevin Kelleher and Nathan Collins, probably the hardest time to put on an Irish jersey at the moment, with criticism from all rights, left, centre, coming at the players, coming at the management. Is it hard really qualifying, hanging in the drips, dare I say? Is it hard really to keep their spirits up when they come back to Brentford so they can get the best out of them?
I say to the players every time they go away that it's a privilege and honour to represent your country. Pretty well placed to speak about that. And naturally they come back with different experiences. On the last camp, some of them qualified for the World Cup, so it was an amazing achievement for them and their respective countries. And again, some players come back after suffering some defeats and some lows, and the emotions of that bring players back in a different place. Clearly, I think what's important is that once they come back, they know they come back into our environment and what's gone on away. If it's good, brilliant. If it's not, then we try and turn it back onto our page and get them back into the Brentford mode, I suppose, as quick as possible. But for the two lads you mentioned, I have no concerns about Quave or Nate. They've been fine. As soon as they've been back, they've cracked on and played really well against West Ham. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, with so many new faces, you constantly mention, you guys building as a team. The performance against West Ham, would you say that that's a milestone in that process of building?
Maybe, yeah. I just think it was a really good step forward as a team. The levels of performance, very happy with the vast majority of it. Always things you can tweak and improve on, whether it's the individual or the collective, which we've discussed this week. And I think naturally you can become a little bit more demanding and try to really fine-tune aspects of it when everybody's in a good place, everybody's in a good mood. But yeah, the performance was very good, and we just need now to build on that, the consistency around how we do things. We're constantly getting to know each other more and more. The more time we spend on the grass with each other, we can hopefully continue to evolve it.
Yeah, and players spoke of sensational training ahead of the match. What kind of helped the squad prepare for the game, and how has training been ahead of tomorrow's match?
Yeah, it's not for me to say if it was sensational or not. It's nice to hear them saying it though. I said this to the players potentially after the game, I think it was, that we basically provide the infrastructure around all the preparation. A lot of talk goes into that from different angles, whether it's tactical, the physical side of it, the emotional and the mental side of it is big to me, around the feel of a particular game. And like I said, I thought we approached that really well, and we did it. We got it around right, but you never quite know when it comes to the game. It doesn't always materialise into an unbelievable performance and a result off the back of it. So again, this week slightly different in terms of the time building up, different aspects that we needed to focus on, naturally, because we're playing a different team. And natural preparation, but as you can imagine, the mood and the vibe around the place doesn't need much addressing. It's kind of looked after itself this week.
Yeah. And Yehor's been looking really bright this season. How has he contributed to the squad's success, and how has playing beside someone like Jordan Henderson helped him this season so far?
Yeah, I would say a lot. Playing alongside someone so experienced is invaluable. I've had it myself early parts of my career with certain players who play. You pick up little bits. And Yehor's role has grown. He finished the season really well last season. This is his first real season as a starter, I suppose. And he's grasped that opportunity. I think his performances have been outstanding, really outstanding. And I think he's grown in stature and on the pitch, the personality he's playing with, real understanding of the game, and he's growing within the group on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and obviously a leader in both squads that are going to be playing tomorrow night. How important is Jordan Henderson?
Yeah, he's been really important for us. Clearly, we lost our captain in the summer, Christian Norgard. We needed to identify a player to come in and replace Christian, and I think we did that really well with Jordan. He's settled into life very well. I think it's pretty evident that he's enjoying his football. And I think you're starting to see relationships build with him in midfield, what he can do with the ball in terms of feeding the front players, so whether it's set pieces or long range passing or crosses. He's been very good. Thank you.
Hi, Keith.
Hey, Jack.
The question about Yarmouk actually ties in nicely in what I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned how he's grown in stature, 8 starts in the Premier League this season. He's retained his role despite Yanel's return. When you were initially planning the squad and your lineup, did you plan for him to be a key player this early in the season, or has he exceeded expectations?
No, I did plan on him being a big part of the squad. Really big part. But for that to happen, you need to perform. I think it's all well and good me having ideas around, okay, this might work and that might work, but then you need to see it. And I think I've seen pretty much straight away in pre-season that he finished the season well, went away with Ukraine. I think he played one to 2 games. Had a bit of downtime and he's come back in a really good place. He's just constantly growing. Like I said, he's developing his game. He's keen to develop his game. He's keen to learn about playing midfield and what it takes. That it's the different aspects of it. And I think he's in the right environment to continue that development. And the more game time you get, naturally, it's the best way of learning. But he's in a good place, clearly.
When you've got a player of his age working under you, a former midfielder, played a similar role, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, do you perhaps have a greater interest in his development?
No, not really. No, I have to be honest. I don't see it as black and white as that. Obviously, I would know that position more from playing it, but I go back to some of the extra coaching bits that I take and on the individual development. It's not necessarily always the midfielders that I would work with, but I can see things obviously in his game that I can resonate with and experiences that I suppose I've been through, so I can certainly help him on that front. But we've got really good coaches that we delegate a lot of that work to in terms of the individual development when they go through clips with players. But equally, I do like doing that myself with them as well on occasions when I can.
Okay, I also want to ask, how do you see his game evolving, and what layers would you like to see him add as the season goes on?
Just continue to grow. I think the level of performance tonight was very, very high. His personality on the ball, I think you could see that for the goal when he's looking to play forward. I think maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, he plays a little bit safer maybe. I think that a lot of that comes with confidence, naturally. He's in a groove, he's in a rhythm now where he's playing really well. The team were playing really well the other night, and I want to see a little bit more of that. I think what you see around the physical side of the game and how he can dominate opponents. I think if he continues to grow physically in the way he is, then he can be as good as he wants to be.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask about Gustavo Nunes. Played against 45 minutes against QPR, played 60 minutes against Luton and got the assist. He's another player that's had injury-ridden first season, and then he had the hamstring injury against Gil Vicente. What's the plan for him going forward? Is it a case of seeing how he does in under-21 football, or are you going to try and maintain the balance of first-team football and B-team?
We need to get him fit and keep him fit is the priority. I think we need to be careful about how we do that. He's building, you're right, he's played 45, 60, I've been at both of the games and I've enjoyed watching him. You could see when he came on against QPR, he had those glimpses, those moments. And we need to build his robustness, his availability. We need to continue to push him hard in training, develop him as the player and the person. Again, in a different country, he needs to work really hard on his English. I think that'll make life a lot easier for him. But we just need to keep nudging him in the direction we need to go, because there's certainly a very good player there.
Okay, because with Igor Thiago last season, you've spoken how you worked quite closely with him, built quite good rapport. Was it a similar situation with Gustavo, or because he's a little bit younger, you don't quite have that relationship with him?
I think each relationship is a little bit different naturally, so it's not the exact same. Didn't work as much with Thiago last year. He was obviously injured for much of it. Similar to today, like I've had 15-20 minutes in the treatment room this morning before meetings, speaking to Anthony Malambo and Josh Da Silva. I think it's an important part of what coaches should do. Sometimes I don't have that luxury of spending that much time naturally with the schedule I have, but I think it's important to spend time around the players that aren't available to play, because it just lets them know, I think, that you're still in their thoughts and you care about them. And we care about Gustavo's development, and we need to be careful about how we push that over the next number of weeks to get him back into a place where he's really challenging for the first team.
Okay, and lastly, so something I'm picking up earlier where you said Josh Da Silva was helpful with you with set pieces last season. So I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Very similar to Thiago. The two of them, I think, did one of the games with me in particular. I can't remember which one, where we went through some clips around the opposition, and I wanted them to contribute to the team meeting. So we're just very similar to Thiago, and Josh is a very studious young man around the game. He's got good knowledge around it, some good ideas around set pieces. Didn't always agree with some of his ideas, but it would have been very similar to that.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else before we go on to Barbie?
Hey, John.
Just one question for me today. I just want to ask about the left back spot. When Badger up against West Ham, had a good game. You also got Henry, Lewis Potter, and he can play there. Are you waiting for someone to maybe lock down that position for themselves and make it theirs to lose, or do you prefer to adapt it depending on your position and the system?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've got options, like you've said, which is a good thing. The versatility of some of the players, like Aaron, Chris, and Keano. Really, I suppose you can only say that Rico is the out-and-out left back, and it's probably a tough call last week, really, to not play Rico. He's in a good place, but I just thought Chris had played very well against Manchester City. That deserved to keep his place. There's a couple of other reasons around it that I probably wanted to start him, and he played very well against West Ham. As people are playing well, they'll tend to stay in the team, but I think we've got really good options in those areas. And I know going back over the last couple of years that those options obviously weren't always available. Chris played at the start of last season left back because there was a real lack of options, I suppose. So it's nice to have those options. Thank you.
Yeah. Keith, hi.
Hiya.
Given Liverpool's midweek result, alongside the criticism that they had around their recent form, from your perspective, is this a game about neutralising their strengths or imposing your attacking game plan on them? On which do you prioritise?
Yeah, it's always the balance, I think. We have to impose ourselves on them. I think that's an absolute must. But you've got to earn the right to do that by doing the right things consistently at the right times. I think we've got to be courageous about how we approach the game. And on the other hand, like the balancing act, always the level of opposition, the level of talent. You need to be very, very respectful of that and understand what makes them tick. And really making our players understand it, I think, which they naturally would. But those key qualities that they have that can hurt you. So it's always the balance, clearly.
The form of Salah has attracted some attention this season. 'Season. 'Last season, teams would have planned differently, given his form. This season, teams would have planned differently, given his form. What do you think? 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 the form this season, does that make any changes to the way you would plan to neutralise strengths? Difficult question. I think.
Yeah, no, it's not a difficult question because you prepare the exact same way because it's Mo Salah. It's still there. It's just when it comes out. It's just when it happens, when he goes on that run, which he will. So the attributes of that Mo Salah that you're talking about last season are still the same this year. I firmly believe that. I think a lot of it goes back to the relationships and forming a new front line, I suppose. And yeah, if Mo Salah's on the team sheet tomorrow, we'll be very respectful of him.